negotiating is something that's really difficult to do for some people, and I think it's challenging because we don't think of it in everyday situations, but we use it every day. And I think in organizations, particularly, you get nervous because you want to make a good deal. So, I mean, like, what do you do for businesses in that situation, Julie?
Well, negotiation is always naturally more comfortable for men than women. Men naturally negotiate more often. Women very rarely negotiate. And it's really important in an organization, if you have men and women, that they know how to negotiate and they know how to do it the right way. And one of the biggest things is not being afraid to do it. People think that it's going to be a negative thing. Oh, if I negotiate, I might not get the right amount of money or so forth. But here, everything's negotiable. And so we always want to negotiate, and we want to learn how to do it the right way. And so, you know, I work with a lot of different skills on training people on how to negotiate everything. And by the time they're done, they can go to the shoe store and negotiate a pair of shoes.
I love that confidence that you infuse. You really do. Confidence in everything.
Yeah. So it's not a cultural thing to negotiate. It's not a normal thing, at least in our culture. And so it's really important that people understand that I can negotiate it. Women need to negotiate collaboratively because that's very important. People consider it negative a lot of times when women negotiate for themselves. Men, it's a little different, but women also are the best negotiators for other people. So we really encourage and train women in those areas because they're really successful in that.
Well, I think that's because women, we actually have a high emotional intelligence, and sometimes we don't play on our strengths. So I think that's something else that we bring together as a team, is being able to utilize our strengths, but also to show women and just leaders in general how you can use your strengths and emotional intelligence to kind of bring people down off that cliff, right? Because especially right now in our world, think about it, crisis management. And that's something that we really do well. And to be able to infuse that even with media management, I mean, that's something that I think you've worked on quite a bit, Linda, and you could...
Oh, yes. I mean, over the years, there have been certainly situations like that, but the fires, for instance, 2003 Cedar fires, that was a big event where we were on the air for hours and hours and hours. And you see the way that it's done right and the way that maybe it's not done right. So when people stay ahead of that message and they are informing the public at certain intervals all the time to tell them where they need to go, because it's scary and it hits certain areas of San Diego really hard, and people lost their homes and they kept looking and begging for more information. And so in crisis management, teaching people how to have their leaders all have the same message and get that message out and control the message, especially in the chaos, that's something that we can help people so that they're confident no matter what they're faced with.
I really love how also in teaching that course that you really talk about how to diffuse the fear and how to, in the best way possible, try to bring the community together.
Right. So you're armed with this information and you're ahead of it. So you know that everybody has the same information and you have honesty behind it. And even if you don't know something, that you can go out and you can tell people, this is what we know and we're going to keep you informed as best we can. However that may be. And of course, anything can arise that's a certain crisis situation aside from a fire. But it's really about being armed with information ahead of time so that when you're faced with that uncertainty, you know how to help people.
And that's important. I mean, in organizations, we've got the airlines now. There's plenty of organizations that could use help in crisis management. So I can definitely see that. But you were talking about the team aspect. I mean, guys, it's so important to be on the same page.
It really is. I think that working with other people can be a challenge. There's so many different kinds of personalities. Right. Sometimes you naturally would be friends with someone. Sometimes you think, gosh, I would never be friends with this person unless we were thrown in a project together. And that's okay. Mm-hmm. So as an improv comedian, my comedy team building I hear from people that it's really fun, and that's awesome. The underlying message is that acknowledging people's strengths and really working together and coming together for the good of a certain goal and being really fired up and passionate about the goal is what it's all about. And we look at that we're all on the same team and that we all have the same goal. Even if one person takes the lead, another person is sort of in the back of the limelight, coming together as that team is not only what's going to make that project successful, but what's going to make the whole company successful. And why the heck can't we laugh while we're doing it? So I hear from people that it's one of the most fun ways that they get their team together. I love that they laugh. That is awesome, and I have a good time too. But what's more important to me is that everybody's leaving with the same goal.
So one of the big things today in the work industry is that people are really stressed, and companies end up spending millions of dollars on the health of their employees because they're so stressed. I worked for a place one time where people were so stressed, literally some of them, their hair was falling out. No, not kidding. And then people started taking extended leaves of absence because they were so stressed and so unhappy. And I think it's really key that you're able as an organization to know how to deal with that stress.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things I'm so excited about that we get to do is playing our way to wellness. And as the improv comedian of the group with my team, come on, who's all in? Come on, guys! Yeah! Woo! It's so fun. You know, stress, as you were saying, is keeping people out of work, is keeping people from reaching their full potential and giving their all. And when we can take the stress out of it, it can flow so much more smoothly and it can really get the positive, profitable results. So when we're doing the Play Your Way to Wellness program, it's really about let's get that stress out of our body. Let's get our mind clear. Let's get into that zone where we can really feel empowered and positive and fresh and ready to take on a new challenge. And if we're not in that space, it's just not going to go as well.
I mean, in an organization, though, your people are your investment. I mean, that's the most important part. And that's what's so great is we come together and we're able to help the people of the organization. And when you can help people go through a hard time, I mean, sometimes it's just, you know, life is hard. And sometimes we, you know, are able to bring humor to that. And then it changes everything for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, being, you know, in the military, sometimes, unfortunately, those experiences and the things that you're exposed to or just life challenges can leave us with some scars that aren't visible. And so as the transformation coach, one of my biggest joys and just privileges is to do my Healing Through Humor program. And that's really taking personal development up a notch to really examine what are the things that I get triggered by and what are my kind of ouch zones? How do I respond from that in the workplace that can cause conflict, that can cause upset, and that can derail certain goals and projects from going smoothly?
Right.
And how can I take some accountability and a responsibility for some self-reflection and awareness? And the thing is, we don't have to call in, you know, a shrink. You don't have to lay on the couch and talk about your mom. We play improv games. So again, we're infusing the joy, the play, and the laughter.
And it makes people comfortable.
Exactly. Exactly. We're tracking triggers. We're finding out what are the things within us that are kind of like the nails on the chalkboard that may stem all the way back from childhood or our teenage years. And really just having the awareness gives us the empowerment to not react, but to respond in a different way with more emotional intelligence.